Two ways to pray. David Crowder has a song that goes something like, looks like somebody prayed. Well, how do you know that? How do you know what is and what isn't? I would say for sure when you see the miraculous happen, authority of, to speak to that mountain and command it.
Right.
First thing he ever used to command it and showcase that was the fig tree. At least what's written. So if the miraculous isn't happening, that defies the logic, then you don't know how to equate all the other stuff that happens. And to me, all the other stuff that happens is not God micromanaging all this stuff happening and making things happen. He's trying to inspire people to walk out faith, to trust in the truth, to not be deceived. If I'm walking out flesh, I'm being deceived. I'm deceiving myself in my meaning well, good intention, due diligence, and justifiable rationale.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm deceiving myself, but it comes from my own genuine choices. I'm creating deception with my own genuine choices. And God is handcuffed to that because he gave you that ability on purpose. And I think I think the number one thing that he's doing is showcasing his love. And look at this, the first part of love, I don't know if it's the first, it's just what I'm saying. The most strongest part of love is that he loved the world so much that he gave them, everybody else says his only begotten son, that's true, that's later. But at the start, he gave them genuine choice. In every aspect that you can come up with and think of, to make this so real that you had to have this process to decide what you're going to walk out. The two pathways, the broad way and narrow way. Smile and a frown. Hate and love.
Spirit and carnal.
So he had to give that. He had to give that in order to show this vast love. And now the people are unleashed to be able to do whatever they say, whatever they want to do, including all the evil in the world, all the taking, all the stealing, all the suing, all the chastising, all the rebelling, all the BS that they pull. And each person has to grow up in it, in maturity of it, to get control of themselves, to have self-control in order to walk out to walk out faith, but in order is to work out the flesh by walking out faith. So I don't think he's micromanaging and telling people what to do, because what he did, one of the greatest things he did is create genuine choice, and he's holding in the balance everyone's genuine choice. It's not his will that all the evil would happen, but it is his will that he would give you perfect genuine choice. And that allows you to create the evil. Yes, God could stop it, because he's all powerful, but he's not going to, because his word is his bond and his word is his integrity, and he's going to follow his word. And he gave mankind the power, the ability to choose. He's not going to trump that and come in and micromanage and make you do something that you aren't wanting to do. So now Jesus had to come to lay his life down to be the atonement for sin, to make payment to free the people so the people could be free. But they're only free when they walk in spirit-mindedness. They think they're free because they're doing all these shenanigans over here in perceived abundance versus true abundance. All that perceived abundance is safety, security, survival, territorial, domineering, fight or flight, eye for an eye, tooth for tooth, return to evil for evil, all which is self-preservation, animal nature. All of it. And it's exactly what Libby functions in. It's exactly what the giraffe functions in. The butterfly, the kitty cat, the snake. Some people are vicious as a snake. But we confuse where evil is. Evil is just simply self-preservation, being self-centric and self-centered, centered on myself, about how I want to do things and how I think they should go, irrespective of whether I have that power over somebody else's life or not. He gives us this ability to choose. Then he comes down incarnate, the Word becomes flesh, becomes Jesus, shows us how to walk out this whole thing called genuine choice. And he did it first for his own abundance. So inside of that, he showed us how to pray.
Right.
The first way is speaking to it from a spirit-mindedness, which is taking dominion and authority over it.
Speak to the mountain.
Speaking to the mountain, being able to bless it or curse it, and it defies the logic. That's the first part. That's predominantly where it talks about praying in the Bible. Nowhere do you see pray to God about problems you have. It says, ask and will be given, seek and you'll find, knock and it'll be answered. So yeah, cast your cares to God and he will, provide for you. Have vision. It's another way of saying cast your cares. Have vision for what you're trying to have and accomplish. Right?
Right.
The other way of praying is talking to God about what you're trying to do with your vision. Here's where I'm trying to go in alignment with the kingdom.
Right.
That's another way to pray. But that's your vision, but you then still need to take dominion and authority and speak to it. God's not going to do it for you. You have to speak to it. And when you line up with it as you have that vision and you speak to it, you declare it on earth, so now God can be unhandcuffed to work in that. But then he then has to inspire it through other people as well.
All right.
As they work out their flesh and then walk in faith. Not perfectly.
Right.
Just with that vision, with that thing that you're trying to ask God to help for. Like Andrew, example of Andrew, building all that stuff he's doing has happened through people, God inspiring through people as people walk out their faith. So the first one is what we're talking about right now. Taking dominion and authority. Taking charge of it. Charge of your vision. What do you have vision for? Second way, to me, is the only other way that's left. Part of casting your cares at God is the inverse of that is giving him vision to work with. You can't just keep coming and complaining and groaning and moaning about your cares. You also have to have an outward expression of where you're trying to go. If you sit there and bellyache and complain and moan and groan to God about all your stuff, he's still handcuffed. I got to give him vision of what I'm trying to accomplish. What am I dreaming about? What are you dreaming about? What are you dreaming about? What do you desire to experience? Right? Now he's got something he can work with, and having it in alignment with how the kingdom functions, now you've unhandcuffed him. He's handcuffed until you get out of your own way. Just like you're handcuffed until you get out of your own way in there. Identical, exactly, same exact thing. That's what I'm saying. That's one of the greatest tools to help you actually, that I've found, helped you see the kingdom. And I understood the kingdom before I understood trade. Second way to pray, so all that's in there together. Taking dominion and authority and the miraculous that also comes from casting your cares, getting yourself out of the way, stop groaning and moaning and begging God. Declare what you want to envision, what you want to experience, because that's how he empowered you. And then the second way is after you do that, go to praising him.
Yeah.
That's what praise and worship is all about. It's go to thanking him for what he's already done, that now you're seeing, which is what he placed in your heart anyway. You're excited about what he already did in your heart. Go to praising him and thanking him and worship. Worship should come from excitement, not from that you have to do it. If you don't want to do it, fine. But the reason why I'm doing it is because I'm excited about what he's done in my life.
Right.
I can't help but praise and worship. I can't help but come alive.
Yeah.
Not because of the praise and worship. I can't help but come alive because now I see, said the blind man.
Mm-hmm.
What said the deaf man? I'll catch, said the man with no legs. Because I'm the supernatural power of God. Those are the two ways to pray. One is taking dominion and authority. Two is to, once you do it, accept it as truth. Growing up, you had a hard time trusting. You must trust what is true. which means you find what is true. Not what your truth is, not what your truth is, not what Scott's truth is. What's true in the kingdom. So once you take dominion and authority and you speak it, you're declaring it with vision in alignment with the kingdom, how the kingdom functions. And now you just have such an utter trust that it settles in, and now your belief rises up that what you leaned on, remember, lean not so strongly, what you leaned on was true, but that only comes by aligning with the kingdom. Now once you start seeing that, now you get excited with the skipping step, with the ability to thrive in such a way that you didn't have before, that you come alive and can't help but worship. You can't help but sing and praise and have a skip and be excited for what he did for you.
Yeah.
Until you get to that place, you just can't see beyond yourself. You only see the circumstances of everything going on in this kitchen.
Yeah.
Or everything going on with my trading. Or everything going on with all the stinking dishes. With everything going on with all the snow. With everything going on with work. Everything going on with how much money I don't have in my bank account. Everything going on with all the problems with the house. Everything going on with all the people around us. See what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You get stuck there until you can get to that praise and worship perspective. That's where the miraculous and supernatural begins to happen. You want freedom? That's where the freedom is. And each person has to walk it out. God's not going to do it for them. He gave the power to you. And that's one of the greatest things that we're missing. We misunderstand. We grow up at 18, 20, 22, 24, and we're excited about all the opportunity in life. And then we start getting disempowered because how all the circumstances play out. This doesn't go this way, or that person acts that way, or this wrong got done to me over here, or this thing happened because of this, or I got in a car wreck, or I lost my money, or somebody stole from me, or somebody didn't do what they're supposed to do on the job site, or this, that, and whatever. And we get so deranged, bipolar, from the fact of the opportunity he gave us. The infinite opportunity he gave us here. Not just what you see, but even in the unseen here. And what you're capable of. That the vast majority of people don't step into. Because they're so constrained by the circumstances. So the opportunity just to be alive.
Yeah.
And then start to understand how the kingdom functions and the power he gave you.
Yeah. Instead of begging God to do something, you function in what he gave you, the power and the authority.
And very, very, very few people function in that power. Because they grow up like little kitty cats and puppy dogs and become adults, and all they predominantly do is round the corners off of the box they're in.
Yeah.
So now it looks like a round cylinder, a dynamic round cylinder. That's why you can look at a kid, a 5-10-year-old kid, and what the shenanigans they're doing.
Yeah.
Compared to an adult, most of the time they're just duplicating what they saw the adult do. But it's so much more graphic of what the kid's doing, or another word would be so much more immature.
Right.
You look at them like, what are you doing?
Right. But it's really just a reflection of what they've seen.
What they've seen. And the adult's doing it too, but the adult has rounded the corners off the box. And now it seems dynamic. It seems like justifiable. The dynamic is meaning well, good intentions, due diligence, justifiable rationale.
Right.
And we grow up to validate all that meaning well and due diligence and justifiable rationale, that we see it in other people, so we say that's okay, and that's the trespass actually.
Trespass of death.
It's trespass of carnality, and carnal-mindedness is death.
Yeah.
So yes, ultimately you're trespassing death, and what death begets death, and you don't understand what death is. Death isn't falling over and dying.
Yeah. It's
You can
decaying.
First part of Romans talks about death, how death comes about because of sin. Not one person is aside from of sin. Never was, never is, and never will be. Every single person is caught in sin, which is a level of poor performance compared to perfect performance. But because of that, death ensues because of all that sin in everybody. And that's why the body takes the brunt.
Physical body.
The physical body takes the brunt of the deceived decisions of each individual person's life that they are choosing.
The stress.
So you want freedom, that what I was describing earlier, there's where the freedom is at. And you add on top of that the opportunity to just be alive and be in alignment with the kingdom.
Right.
Most of the people are not in alignment with the kingdom.
Because they don't understand it.
They're in alignment with circumstances.
Because they see it.
So they're jockeyed up and down and all around and back and forth, to and fro by the winds of life, which is the emotions that come from processing everything from circumstantial nature.
Right.
Growing up and becoming a 30, 40, 50-year-old adult, having had rounded the corners off of the box. So it looks mature. But it still is carnal.
Yeah.
Carnally minded, and it continues to beget death, and the body continues to decay and fall apart over time, and we call that old age. We've sensationalized that just as much as we've sensationalized sex. You can't walk out your front door and not be hammered by sex everywhere you go.
Yeah.
Sexualization of everything.
Right.
And mankind loves that because it's enjoyable, but it's supposed to be enjoyable inside the family unit. Right. Inside a marriage unit. So it doesn't get derailed into all the schizophrenic bipolar thinking, speaking one way out of the right side of the mouth and the opposite way out of the other side of the mouth. And all that happens simply because of circumstantial nature.
Yeah.
And the vast majority that the scripture talks about, broad is the way the vast majority travel unto their own destruction. It's the destruction of the experience of spirit-mindedness, which is eternal life now. So we want to get to praying. We want to be able to get to taking dominion and authority over our own lives, having vision for our lives.
Uh-huh.
What do you want? Having vision for your life and what you want to experience. You are living the experience right now of what you want, whether you chose directly and actively in your mind or indirectly, circumstantially, you are living what you want because you're not doing anything about it. What do you want to experience? What did God place in you to cause you to come alive as His navigational system to drive you toward that thing? Your greatness.
Yeah.
What is that? And can I start unpacking that to see what it is? And until I get healed, all healing happens in the mind first. It's healing from the poor, genuine choices that I made that are choices of deception toward perceived abundance versus alignment with the kingdom, which is true abundance. It's healing from those deceptive choices.
Mm-hmm. Lies.
We're the creators of those lies. We're the creators of that deception. Yes, Satan's the author. But God gave us the power over him, and he's utterly defeated and stripped of all his power. Now we're just modeling the same thing.
Yep.
Because it feels good. It causes us to be self-centric, which feels good. I think because I know a thing or two, or I have this ability, or I have this look, or I'm attractive, or I'm this, that, and whatever. All performance, all religious performance. So we're getting healed, all of us, when we work out our flesh and walk out our faith. We're renewing the mind. We're advancing the kingdom. We're causing revival in our own mind. And the reason why Jesus had so much revival back then is because he did it for his own abundance. He came so alive in the opportunity with excitement. Yes, you don't call it cross excitement, but before he even got to that was almost doom and gloom to most people. But for him, it was his greatness.
Yeah.
And up to that point, everything before that, he was thriving, coming alive, and he was rich and excited. And that was contagious.
Yeah.
So as that happens with people, it becomes contagious. But right now, the vast majority of people
aren't coming alive.
They're constrained by the modus operandi psychological process that we grow up in, that we all function in, because we see it played out over and over thousands of times a day, every single day of our lives.
Yeah.
And we think, because we mean well, we think, oh, I'm better than those people. I'm doing pretty good because of these things.
That's measuring and comparing.
I'm set aside because I got this going on and I accomplished all this. No. If you're not in alignment with the kingdom, you're staying in this small portion of the optimization of the opportunity to be alive in the kingdom and be in alignment with the kingdom. I'm functioning in a small portion. If you think about the other portion, if it's a small portion, then what's the greater portion? The small portion is we get caught in our own perceived abundance. We get caught in our own safety, security, survival, territorial, domineering, firefly, eye for eye, to return evil for evil, all which is self-preservation mode, which is just animal nature, circumstantial nature. It's what Romans 8:6 talks about. To be carnally minded is death, to be spirit-minded is life, health, and peace. Not all carnal is bad, because you have to interface with life, and you have to be carnal. You are carnal. But it's to be carnal-minded, which means circumstantially driven, emotionally driven by what you think you feel about something, what you think you see according to your five senses: see, taste, touch, hear, feel, and smell. Because of that, we stay constrained there. So, what's the other portion? It's this picture of lean not so strong on what you think you know, but enter into my rest, and then receive the rest of the kingdom.
Yeah.
What you think you know comes from being carnal-minded, five senses oriented.
Everything you think you know.
Making all your decisions based on your sensory input, which is all that is an instinctive pecking order mode, identical to every single other animal.
Yeah.
We just happen to be the top dog, and we're not constrained by that. They're operating in their full design, because that's all they're capable of.
Right.
We're only operating in a small portion of the design, because we're acting just like them, and they're actually doing a better job of it than us, because we extort it.
Yeah.
We extort it in all our emotions with our conscious mind, which is what makes us a top dog. Not extorting it, but the opposing thumb and the consciousness to know the difference and to be able to grow out of it. So the other portion is this, what we call the other 99.9%. The small portion that each different person's experiencing. I'm not saying everybody's only experiencing a small portion. I'm saying the vast majority of people are only experiencing a small portion. There's only a small minority, and I'm going to call it 93% versus 7%. That's my numbers. Only 7% are thriving and coming alive. And part of that is learning how to go from a taker mentality, which is circumstantial nature, to a giver mentality. But that happens when you lean not so strongly on yourself, which is self-centric, processing through everything through yourself, and you start opening up the scripture and reading what the mirror is telling you. You're looking into the mirror to see who you are and how the kingdom was designed.
With the Bible.
And that's confirming by an outside party, a third party, third witness, of what's true about the first person, you.
In the Spirit.
In the Spirit. And in your design.
Right.
Your design is to be able to choose. You have a brain to be able to choose. You have a soulish realm, which is your brain, your emotions, to be able to choose whether you're going to lean on the body or lean on the Spirit side of you. Mm-hmm. And the only way you can begin to start leaning on the Spirit side of you is start accepting the truth and lining up with the kingdom. And so that other portion is entering into His rest, resting in what is true about the kingdom, what is true about what He did for you in the kingdom, and what is true about you in the kingdom. That is the opportunity. It's the whole spectrum of the opportunity. And when you step into that by leaning not, you start opening up that door. You start opening up that infinite, vast, infinite spectrum of opportunity. That portion that you could experience if you would begin stepping into it. That's where I say I think it's less than 7%, but I'm giving a number that is a sensible number, 7%. The other 93% of the people currently, and 93% of the people of all time in the past, and it'll probably be the same thing, 93% of the people in the future, which is what's called broad is the way that the vast majority of people, including the Christians, I'm not chastising Christians, I'm helping them to see and understand the design so that they can unlock that opportunity for their abundance. Their true abundance, not their perceived abundance, which is found in the animal nature. So, all those people are functioning, what I'm describing right now, all those people are functioning in a small portion. Rather than say it's limitation, rather than have it be a negative, when you see the optimization of the kingdom and you back up to what I said at the start, that the beginning of showing love is to give them life more abundantly than life itself, and that opportunity
to choose
to optimize the kingdom by genuine choice.
Yeah.
We are completely missing out on all that we have in store that He's given us, because all we know is what we see, taste, touch, hear, feel, and smell.
Right.
Based on what other people have created, based on, say, what they see, taste, touch, hear, feel, and smell. And yes, the mass population over time, the body of people over centuries has grown, obviously, from not having shelter and roads and cars and smartphones and all that stuff to where we are today. It's grown from not having that stuff to having that stuff today.
Right.
Obviously, there's been growth, but still in all that growth, mankind is still functioning in that predominant carnal mindedness instead of spirit mindedness. So the before we can go on to prayer, I'm making a very important point of the design of the kingdom was designed on purpose out of love to give you free will, perfect, genuine choice, so perfect you could be completely 100% evil and 100% good. That's the opportunity. And now inside of that, Scripture describes how dead in their trespasses that the vast majority of people are functioning and do function in. Broad is the way the vast majority travel unto their own destruction. And it's easy to point outside of yourself and look at everybody else, but it's us ourselves.
Including Satan, pointing at Satan.
It's us ourselves creating that environment at whatever level it is of self-preservation. The destruction is self-preservation, which destroys self-control. Self-control is spirit-mindedness. Self-preservation is carnal-mindedness. So it's the full spectrum. I'm painting a picture of this full spectrum of the opportunity, and it's your genuine choice to decide where and how and at what level you're going to optimize it. Scripture describes it broad as the way that the vast majority are only functioning in a small portion of it because they're in the carnal mindedness. And it describes that. The vast majority are carnally minded. There's actually not one that isn't, aside from Jesus. So now the question is, what are you going to do with the opportunity? How are you going to come alive and thrive and begin to see and have vision for your future, for what's in store for you that was put in you on purpose, for a purpose, so that you can thrive and come alive with the abundance and prosperity, true abundance and true prosperity that He had in store for you, that completely trumps, what's another word for trumps? Completely
overtakes?
Infinitely overtakes the limitation of the small portion. It dwarfs it. It completely dwarfs what you could do on your own. What He has in store for you completely dwarfs what you can do in your carnal mindedness. And the vast majority are missing out on that opportunity. because they don't see it as the opportunity. They're functioning and processing just like the animals. We all do, because that's our design. We're designed identical in that way of processing, but it's designed so that you can survive long enough to have a fleeting chance, which means it's leaving, a fleeting chance to come out of that thinking.
Yeah.
The fleeting chance is the body being the indicator and takes the brunt of all sin. So it shows up first in the body. The body carries the death. It carries the sin.
Yeah, you see it physically in the...
Before it even gets to seeing it. It takes 10, 20, 30, 40 years before you start seeing it, because the body's super powerful.
Right.
But you begin to see it. But until then, the body's the container for the toxicity of the deception of the genuine choices. That's what causes the sin. The body's the container and the indicator for you to make a choice. So it's a fleeting chance because the body's in decay mode because of taking the brunt of just being alive, first of all. And second of all, the choices we make that are carnally minded are death choices. Not falling over and dying. It's a taking life. It's taking life force, taking vitality. It's exactly what the animals do. So this whole spectrum is about the opportunity that's sitting in front of us for us to partake in. But we go to our friends and our family and all the people around and all the 93% of the people that are doing the same thing, and we try to line up and follow all that. And it's good to do some of that. But you got to take all those thoughts captive and measure them against your vision that God's placed on your life. Take those thoughts captive and see if they line up with that vision and with the kingdom. And if they don't, I'm about kingdom. I'm about that vision. I already know that I can mess it all up. I can blow it completely. I already know that. I know I can take it in my own hands. And in all those years of taking it in my own hands, it didn't profit me anything.
Right.
So to live is Christ, is gain. Mm-hmm. Everything else that I've done is, like Paul says, dung. I count it dung. And I can see, I just look back, most of it, all of it didn't add up to hardly anything. And don't have very much to show for it. So the only choice I have is how much of the opportunity that he has in store for me do I want, which is infinitely richer than what I can do myself in every aspect of richness, or health, wealth, and relationships. How much more of that do I want? So when I begin to see what he's created for us, if you look at a mound of ants, they're just running around. They have no clue of God. They're just running around doing their thing. But if you look at us, we're kind of like a bunch of little ants running around. Running around doing our own little thing, working here, working there, hanging out here, we're hanging out there, doing this, doing that, da 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 da. Most of the time, purposeless. Yes, I have purpose in going to the store because I want to get a Mountain Dew and I want to get a bag of Doritos, and that's purposeful. And I chose to do that, and that's my purpose for the day. Thank you very much.
When have you had a Mountain Dew?
I haven't had in a long, long, long time. But I'm making an example of purpose. That's not what we're talking about with purpose. And those activities, those actions happen hundreds of times in a day for everybody in different ways.
Right. Around
the house, around work, around errands, around all this stuff, sporting events and all this stuff that we do. And we never get to this opportunity, so we become a product of what everybody else is doing the exact same thing. And everybody's, going through life and they're retiring from what they don't love. You won't retire if you stay doing what you love. I'm not trying to make it about that. What I'm talking about is this opportunity. So going through all this life, retiring from what you don't love and moaning and groaning about having to work and da 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 da. That's an indicator to tell you you're missing out on this opportunity that I've been talking about this whole time. You're missing out. It's right in front of you, little ant, even though you can't see it. You have a gift that I've given you over the actual little ant, but you're acting like a little ant. I've given you the truth. I've given you the kingdom. I've given you the answers to the kingdom. You just have to look into the mirror and see what the mirror is telling you about. Telling about you. Not the one in your bathroom, the one when you crack the basic instruction before leaving Earth, the Bible. The basic instruction before you leave this place and go on to eternity is to help you experience eternal life now. Thy will on earth, which is eternal life now, which I gave you genuine choice so you could have genuine choice, so that you would come spontaneously to me and want to spend eternity with me. But I had to give you this first in order to give you the opportunity to make your own choice. And broad is the way, the vast majority of them stiff-arm that choice, or they travel in their own destruction of the experience of eternal life now, which is thy will on earth, which is you spontaneously coming and by your own choice, which is my first part of my love to you, to give you this freedom of the opportunity, the full spectrum of the opportunity, to optimize it in whatever shape form you want to, whether you're like Hitler or whether you're like a Donald Trump. Maybe that's not a good example. But Trump's trying to take back all that corruption that Hitler did, not literally.
Right.
All that mankind's done in the political environment, he's trying to take it back and give it back to the people.
Right.
He's trying to give credit to God. He's not perfect. I'm not perfect. You're not perfect. Whoever's listening to this recording at some point in time, you're not perfect. Get over ourselves.
Right.
He's doing a lot of good. And people did in their trespasses, which is the vast majority, because they're coming from a carnal standpoint, are dependent and have a different perspective of the kingdom. Or they have a dependency mentality. What I need, what I'm trying to get, what I'm entitled to, what I should get because everybody else got it. That mentality causes people to come against what Trump's doing, because he's making people function with character and with merit and with integrity and kingdom-minded stuff, which is where the opportunity is, which, because he's doing all that work, he's going to create the greatest boom, I think, in a long time. This is an inflection point in 100 years.
Yeah.
Even though we've had the stock market go up for 100 years, that's only because legally the stock market, all retirements are required to be long the market. So that forces the market up, including corporate earnings. I'm weaving some things in here. So what's important about all that is that he gave you this opportunity.
What are you going to do with it?
And we're missing out on it.
Yeah.
The opportunity to be completely far left is far right. Right-minded, wrong-minded would be far left. And the vast majority are wrong-minded in their psychology, their perspective, because they're coming from a rounding the corners off the box, quote, maturity. I'm mature. But there's no maturity in processing things carnally.
Yeah.
You have to process some things carnally. We are functioning carnally right now. But to be carnally minded is the limitation that you're accepting. And you're not entering into thy will on earth. It's not about what you're supposed to do. And that's where we get constrained.
Right.
It's supposed to look like this and all churchy and all that stuff. No, it's not.
Right.
It's what it could look like. The key word I use a lot is could.
Right.
What could it look like? You could take dominion and authority over your stuff, or you can run to the doctor.
Right.
And when we grow in that, and thank God for doctors, because we'd all be in trouble in our growth process. I've had to go to the doctor before. but I have had to grow into getting where I'm at. Growing in understanding, wisdom and prudence. Same thing. Jesus had to grow wisdom, prudence, and understanding of the opportunity that was before him.
Right.
He had to learn that he actually was God. He didn't know he was God. He had to grow in it. He had to grow in the opportunity to look at it properly. He had to work out the flesh and walk out faith. Which is why I say it's interesting. There's no count of him before 13, which is when a kid's eyes start to open up. And a kid is completely self-centered.
Yeah.
Which is fine. But that's a needs-based thing. They need their mother and father to train in the way they ought to go, which is valuing the kingdom. And Mary and Joseph did a fantastic job of training him and isolating him from the cares of the world, from the modeling of the world, so that they could grow in him that wisdom, prudence, and understanding. I'm not taking away from what Jesus did. Jesus had to walk it out himself.
Right.
He had to get to one place at one point in time that I'm actually God. He had to begin to be faithful to what was true about him as he looked into the mirror of who he was.
Which is the same for us. We got to get to a point to realize that the same Spirit is living in us.
Same exact thing.
And we have the power to use it or stiff arm it.
Yep. And the stiff arming is the destruction of eternal life now.
Yeah.
It's the destruction of what's true about the kingdom, about you, about the kingdom, about you. You're not destroying the kingdom. The kingdom is everlasting.
Right.
It's just whether you're going to line up with it, which is what Romans 12:2 talks about. Be transformed by the renewing of your mind, so that you can break out and break free and experience all that I have in store for you, all that I have lavished upon you, all the richness that I have placed before you for you to obtain.
Life more abundantly.
So that you then, yes, as a side effect, can have a life more abundantly than life itself. The life itself
is everyday life.
This is the exciting thing. The life itself is that animal nature. Life more abundantly than the mundane, everyday, coming and going, up and down and all around, back and forth, to and fro, carnally minded nature of all the animals in the animal kingdom, including the top dog, you and me, who have the opposing thumb to create things and conscious awareness to understand wisdom and prudence and be able to reflect and respond and shift and adjust and be able to move spontaneously toward choosing him. The whole thing's about choosing him, and he is not going to get in the way of your genuine choice.
Right.
He's not going to micromanage your life.
Every little thing.
Just because he can. Yes, he can. He's all powerful. He's omnipotent. He's omnipresent. There's nothing impossible for God except what he gave you, and he's holding that in store on purpose for your genuine choice so that you will come spontaneously at whatever level of optimization of the opportunity of the kingdom of first just being alive.
Yeah.
He wants you to come as you are in your own genuine choice, and then he freed you from the deception of your own genuine choice by laying his life down. Now you're free. Now you're a brand new creature if you're born again, specifically. And now you should be catching fire and having a skip in your step, but that only starts to come by walking out faith, walking out the truth, by understanding it, growing in wisdom and prudence understanding. As you begin to grow in that, you get to a place of having a better way of praying, because you're praying more in alignment with how the kingdom functions. Most of the carnal nature is coming to God out of its need. God, help me with this. God, I need help with that. Why? Because you know he's all-powerful, omnipresent, omnipotent. There's nothing impossible for God. So you come to him because you come in your scarcity. Where's that scarcity come from? Your carnal nature. Being an ant, but knowing out of conscious awareness that you're an ant, or a puppy dog, or a kitty cat, whatever you want to call it. But I like the picture of a bunch of little ants running around.
I know, that's a new one.
Yeah, I've not said that before. So I like that picture.
Yeah, it's a great visual because they go in and out, like they're just kind of frantically going in and out of their little hut.
In their carnal nature.
Yeah.
They process everything by their five senses.
Yeah.
Everything. Everything they do is a response to what's happening circumstantially and the interpretation internally of those five senses, what that sensory input's telling them.
Yeah.
Your little conscious mind knows that you're an ant, so you're coming in your scarcity because you don't have, and you have a whole bunch of need, and you're not excited about the opportunity. You're looking in the world what everybody else has, and you want more of, whether it's relationship or health or wealth or fun and entertainment and excursion and all the stuff that life has to offer. You know you don't have what you could have.
Right. What
you might be dreaming about or envisioning. You know you don't have it. So you come to God and you're like, God, I need help with this. You think you're praying and you're asking God for all these things, but look where it's coming from.
Need.
It's coming from need, scarcity, poverty, mentality.
Yeah.
Because you think you believe that's what he is, but the dominant thing is your needs. So you'll believe that he is that because of your needs. Not because he is who he is and you just utterly trust that regardless of your needs.
Yeah.
You're doing it because your needs.
And you're begging.
You're doing it because your scarcity mentality of the carnal nature, the small portion I was talking about earlier, that you're functioning of the opportunity, which was only designed as a fleeting amount of time to give you the opportunity to come out of that animal nature. The dog only lives 10 years. Some dogs live 20, but they only live 10 years, approximately. They have a shelf life. The carnal side of the dog has a shelf life. The carnal side of the human has a shelf life. It's fleeting.
Yeah.
Until you, and that fleeting chance is the chance to come out of that nature, which gives life to the body.
Mm-hmm.
Gives life, health, and peace to the body. It actually invigorates it and causes the body to thrive. Causes the body to get in alignment with spirit-mindedness, and all health and peace comes into it. All vitality and rejuvenation and restoration and regeneration of all the cells comes back into play. Otherwise it keeps decaying. Begetting decay, begetting death. Because it has a shelf life. So as you get better, more in alignment, as you get more in alignment with the kingdom and understanding, wisdom, and prudence, you begin to pray a different way. You begin to take dominion and authority over it because you were empowered with the opportunity to optimize the entire kingdom.
Yes.
You get empowered. Now you have authority over it, that stupid little situation is not going to affect my opportunity.
Right.
My abundance, my true abundance that he created in the kingdom for me to experience.
I like your bouncing, honey. You're coming alive.
Oh, I'm fired up about this.
I know.
This is what should take you to true worship.
Yeah.
You don't worship because you have to.
Right.
We do it. That's how we learn. This should get you to where you want to praise and worship God because of how great he is. Which, by the way, you came out of needs praying a whole different perspective, a whole different way, that you believe that he's all these things because of what I need.
Uh-huh.
What I need and what I don't have, and my dependence, my scarcity, my poverty. Because I can't see, taste, touch, hear, and feel, and smell them. I'm going to come from that perspective, and you're not literally thinking that in your mind. You're not directly thinking that, but your emotional nature of safety, security, survival mode is causing you to do that. To protect itself, to self-preserve. So you come in that way and you project to him and say, I need. Little do you know, you don't see he's already provided all that need before you asked for it or needed it.
Right.
So when you get to this place of growing in that wisdom and prudence, your prayer life changes. You start taking dominion and authority over it, in such a way that you can't help but come alive in the awesomeness, the beauty, the grandeur, the wonderfulness, the loveliness, and I always tagged it in, the awesomeness of all of the kingdom, all that he did, the opportunity. Because you now are empowered. You're now in control of your life. You have self-control instead of lack of self-control, which is back to that needs base. Coming from a wrong standpoint. And you're believing wrongly about God. So that whole posture that the vast majority are taking are twisting the scriptures, not meaning to,
Right.
but in their own safety, security, survival,
Meaning well.
which is all the knowledge of the evil. Safety, security, survival, territorial, domineer, five, half an hour, tooth for tooth, return evil for evil, all which is self-preservation. That's the knowledge of the evil that Eve took of first and then fed it to Adam. From there, he deceived us in that, Satan, into that self-preservation mode. That's all he did.
Yeah.
He got us to be carnally minded, which is why broad is the way the vast majority travel in their own destruction of what could have been continued. Adam walked with God for 100 years before Eve even showed up. Could have continued spirit-minded, and he was fully spirit-minded until she showed up. I'm not blaming her. Adam needed to say no and lead her out of what she felt she was missing out on when Satan tricked her into believing that God was withholding from her.
Right. And he's not withholding from us.
He got her into scarcity, and the opportunity, the optimization of the opportunity of the kingdom was the same thing back then that it is today. We're doing the exact identical thing they did back then. We're doing it too.
Yep.
He tricked her out of the opportunity, got her to function in a small portion of the opportunity,
Right.
thinking that was the true abundance, but all really it was the perceived abundance. And life is dynamic and vast, so you think it's abundant, but it's just perceived abundance. He tricked her into her limitation, her scarcity, her poverty. Then she came to God out of her need.
Yeah.
God, I need this. I need da. I don't have and this and that and everything else that comes up in every moment and every day and every week and month and year of your life. When you get to this place of empowered, of what he did in your life, true healing first has begun to set in your mind. And now the body will heal.
Yeah.
The body will break out and break free in restoration. Without you even doing it, because your soul is around, your brain, heart, mind, and emotions are in line with the kingdom, and that's where the power is at. The power is in the renewing of the mind with the truth. The truth will set you free from what you're doing to yourself by being driven by the body. So you have a better way of praying when you take dominion and authority. When you step into the opportunity that was given you. When you go to when you get offered a job or a vehicle or a way to make a whole bunch of money over here doing something valid, let me say valid, or an opportunity of a new house for such and such deal and whatever, and you can make it happen, you don't blow that off. You step into it.
Right.
That's part of the kingdom. But the real opportunity of the kingdom is lining up with the truth. Just like getting that deal on the perfect house you want.
Yeah.
That deal on the perfect house you want, you can't help but lean into it because it makes so much sense. It fits you. It feels good. It settles down in you. All those things happen, and it's the right amount of money, and all the stars line up, and all that stuff. But the real opportunity in life is the opportunity of the kingdom and the truth that will set you free.
That's exciting.
That then heals the mind, or Romans 12 talks about be transformed by the renewing of the mind. You have to renew your mind.
You have to choose.
Then the revival happens in your mind.
Yeah.
Then the advancing of the kingdom happens in your mind. It doesn't happen out there. It happens in you, and now you begin to embody and abide and function in alignment with the kingdom, empowered by all that he did for you.
Yeah. Exciting.
which takes you to the second way of praying. Now I'm so excited, I can't help but thanking God. I can't help but praising Him. I can't help but jumping for joy. I can't help but bouncing, you were saying before.
Yeah.
I can't help but,
Come alive.
coming alive. I can't help but singing praises.
Yeah.
I don't care what the praises are. You just sing whatever you want to sing.
Jump for joy.
Make funny sounds. La 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 la, da 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 da. Yeah, yeah. This is yeah. Let's go. Like a little kid.
Yeah, they get
Not
so excited.
childish, but childlike.
Yeah.